Look who it is. It's Axel, the '89 Montero. It's been a year and a half since we got this thing running for the first time in 13 years. You probably saw the two-part video of bringing this thing back to life. It's been a year and a half, and you might be asking yourself, well, what's happened to it in the meantime? Let's find out. So, like we always do, let's start on the exterior and go around the whole thing, and I'll show you what I've been doing in the last year and a half. Now, I will start the video by saying it has not been anything crazy. This vehicle has just been mostly hanging out. A few things have been done here and there, mostly small stuff, nothing major. But I guess over a year and a half, even though it feels like I haven't really done a lot, it does add up. First things first, it was missing the front hub rings, so got a set of those to complete the OEM look. Coming around, the mud flaps in the front, I kind of refreshed those, painted the steel, and then the rivets that were holding the mud flap to the steel bracket, they were broken, so I just had to re-rivet those. So, and I treated them with like Mother's Back to Black, so they're dirty right now and everything, but they cleaned up pretty nicely. I still need to do the rear ones. Side mirrors, they were really messed up. Like, they used to have a lot more play than this. Like they would swing almost all the way kind of closed, and so got that sorted out. Let's see. Yeah, see if there's like I just had to put a bead right there, because this inner like stud that's supposed to stay stationary, it was moving around, and this thing was like closing all by itself. So that's way better. On the driver's side, I actually got a replacement mirror to fix that side. And you know, all this stuff kind of takes time. Like Gen 1 parts are not easy to find, so it's not like you can just get it done instantly the moment you have a problem. There's a whole process a lot of times of hunting for the part. Probably the main thing that's been done on the exterior, which a lot of you have probably already been exposed to, is the fact that the window moldings, all four of them, have been replaced. That's why we have test vehicles, is so we can bring products back to market that don't exist. So Mitsubishi discontinued them. Even the Hyundai Galloper ones, they were completely sold out across the whole world. So we designed and made our own exterior window moldings for the Gen 1. They look awesome, and now that problem's solved. This tail light was busted, so got a replacement one there, so that looks good now. And this wiper sprayer wasn't working, so got a new one of those, and now that is fixed. Like I said, guys, I'm just going to show you everything I've done, and nothing is super major or impressive. This little license plate holder was broken, so replaced that. This one, as you can see, it's like white because it's still the original one as compared to the new one that's black. This left side rear bumper cap was in worse shape than it is now. It's still, of course, all deformed, but it was worse than it was. I kind of hit it with like a heat gun and tried forming it back and everything. And like I say, it still needs work. It needs to be replaced ultimately, but it's better than it was. And lastly, the main thing on the exterior has been the removal of the tint. The tint was like 30 years old. It was purple, really hard to see out of. It was starting to peel, and it was all wavy. And so I made a separate video about removing the tint. So if you've got really, really old tint and you're trying to get it off, it's not a fun process. It takes a long time. You basically have to like heat this side of the glass with like a blowtorch, and then on the inside peel off that window tint. But when it's this old, it fights you at every turn. So that took a long time, you know, getting it off of like this section of glass, this section of glass, this section of glass, this section of glass, this section of glass. And then I don't really know what I'm doing here, so if you have any input, let me know. On the rear door, as you can see, I've scraped most of the tint off, but there's these parts that are touching the rear defroster lines, and I obviously can't take a razor blade to that because then I will scratch the rear defroster. I actually messed up right here, and what's it called? The solder came off that connects the rear defroster wire to it. So I'm wondering if I just scrape all of that off and I lose all my rear defroster lines. Is anyone familiar with like an aftermarket, maybe like universal kit where you can apply rear defroster lines to your window and wire them into like the existing electrical connections? It's not something that I've really looked into, so let me know if you know. So that completes the exterior. Let's step into the interior, and even less has happened here since its maiden voyage. Let's look at the odometer. 264 miles on it since it was first started a year and a half ago. And that's about all that I want to put on it. Like, I really want to tear into the motor now and start doing some work. But we'll get to that in a second. So what have I done in here? Well, the first thing was the buzzer from the Gen 1 drove me nuts. Like, every time the door is open, the like a thing that's like on all the time drove me nuts. So I have a quick video on this separately, but basically you just pop this cover off, it comes straight up, and then there's like, it kind of looks like a relay box. It's like a metal box, but that's what makes that buzzer sound. You just unplug it. So I did that. So no more annoying buzz. You know, you will of course have to make sure your windows are, or sorry, your doors are properly closed, or else you'll drain your battery, but that hasn't been a problem so far. So yeah, you know, old car full of fluids and a fire extinguisher and all this stuff. Only other thing that I've done in here, guys, other than the buzzer, has been the door lock pulls. There were a few of those that were broken, so I replaced those. We sell those on LusoOverland.com. Anything that I mention, if we sell it or I have a link to it, I'll put it in the description. So did that. We got some floor mats in here, just some like generic tan ones. And then the only other thing that's been done up here is the dome lens covers. This one up front, and then that one way back there. Replaced both of those because the originals were like solid yellow. You could barely get any light out of them. Moving on to mechanical things that have been done since the first start. I replaced all 3 of the drive belts with Bando ones. And then I refreshed the windshield wiper system. So like new tank, new pump, and I cleaned out the nozzles because they were gunked up. So I have a separate video on that. Keeping along with that same separate video theme, I have a video on cleaning out the EGR tube. I just wanted to check it out, see what kind of condition it was in, if it was all gunked up, but it wasn't too bad. So I just took off this pipe, cleaned it up, and you know, we actually still have a few of these EGR pipes left, but they are getting to be very, very rare. So if yours is rusty, you may want to snag one now, because I think we have less than 10, and when they're gone, that might be it. The biggest problem that I had with this vehicle is it would not start, and it was the weirdest thing. The battery would have a charge, the battery would be fine, but the key would have nothing, not even like a crank, right? So I would come out here and I would just like mess with these cables, like jiggle them around, and then you could kind of hear power come back on, and then it would start. So wasn't a battery issue, and I was like, I thought it was a terminal issue, so I cleaned up all the terminals, like sanded them, made sure everything was good in there, no dice. So then eventually I took the cover off and checked out the fusible links, and this one right here, the 100 amp one, on the inside you can take this apart, there's a few bolts, clean it up, and I just replaced the 100 amp fusible link. It was just, you know, in bad shape, and then that solved that problem. So it was kind of driving me nuts for a little while, because every time I needed to like move this car, it wouldn't start, and I just had to like hope and pray that by messing with these wires it would get power. But now that's sorted, it's good to go. I mean, it took a little bit of a fight, like I cleaned all of these up first, and then I got to this, and then found the issue. So that's done. Turned out to be very simple. Gave this engine a really big wash. You could not see any silver on that valve cover at all. It was solid black. It was all oil. And as you can see, there's still a lot of oil below the spark plug wells, like on that exhaust manifold gasket. And that is the name of the game with this car. The valve covers leak like crazy. So I need to get in here and replace those valve cover gaskets. I replaced this door check as well as the one on the back tailgate, and also a new rubber bumper right there. And lastly, underneath that access panel, I've got the new replacement high pressure fuel pump hose. So that's been working great. And that's it, you guys. That's everything that I've done. So now let's transition and let's talk about what are my goals for the next year. So this time next summer, I hope to bring you a more involved and better update and be making a lot of videos between now and then on this car. So right now, let's just start with kind of like the obvious thing you're probably wondering. All the door panels are pretty much off, and I'm in the process of just restoring the looks of the panel. So I'm going to be pulling off all of this like crumbling plastic, all of the butyl rope, cleaning everything on the inside, lubing the window tracks and the window regulator tracks, and then putting on new plastic and putting the door panels back on. I've already kind of started that process on this one. As you can see, I've got everything removed and cleaned. So I just need to, you know, take the time to put the new butyl rope, put the plastic, and we'll go from there. In fact, there's a buddy of mine, Evan Martin, he's got a YouTube video where he does that, and it's super cool. So I'll link that in the description below if you guys want to see that being done. So interior wise, that's really it. Just clean it up, shampoo the carpets, put the cargo mat back down, like get the panel all back together and cleaned and everything, get the defroster sorted. So that's kind of pretty much everything that I'm doing on the interior. The interior is already really nice. I want to get this painted, get the hitch off, get it restored and refreshed, looking nice, get these bumper caps replaced, and get these mud flaps also restored. Just some paint and some maybe some new hardware, and they'll be good to go. I need to get a spare. This thing's got no air in it. It's not even the right size, but I need to get a 31-inch spare on there this year. I'd like to get this front bumper off so I can get that tube that's kind of all surface rust, get that all treated and repainted. You know, I don't know why I'm worrying about cosmetics so much, because look at the roof and the hood and everything. But I figured get to this stuff that's easy to do, and then once all that stuff is done, if we're going to do a repaint, then we'll do that. I want to get the headlight washer system restored at one point, maybe this year, maybe the year after that. I'm not really sure. There's no big rush on it, but basically I've got the reservoir and the pump removed. The pump doesn't work, so I've got to get a new pump, and then basically that should be pretty much done. There might be some kind of clip that goes here to keep these a little bit more attached to the front there. So, but other than that, that shouldn't be too hard. What else did I do? Oh yeah, I replaced the charcoal canister this year. But anyways, what are we going to do in the future? The main thing is big time engine work. So let's do top of the engine and the front of the engine. They need to be serviced. So the timing belt, I have no idea when the timing belt was done on this. So that's really something that I want to get to. Now, this being a non-interference engine, it's not that big of a deal, but I would like to do it. It's still got the original crank bolt in there. And you guys know that those can be prone to wobbling out or breaking. So I just want to get everything caught up. So timing belt job, and then on the top, let's take everything off and let's do the valve cover gaskets. I've already done the spark plugs, but I have not done the wires. Haven't touched anything with the cap and the rotor. Cooling system, you know, we made sure that there was coolant in it before we started, and we kind of cleaned out the radiator a little bit, but let's do a coolant flush while we're at it. And let's see, Power steering pump needs a new hose, no big deal. These pulleys, they don't look too great. They're all rusty and everything, but they're not really making noise or wobbling too much. So I don't know, maybe I'll replace them, or maybe I'll just send it as is. But that's the name of the game. That's really my goal that I want to take care of, is getting this engine refreshed, and just so that I know that it's reliable. Like, I haven't had any problems with this car, but again, it's only been 250 miles and it's been all small commutes, just like driving around town, take it to work one day, and that's it. And you know, I've never really taken it on longer than like 20 miles in one sitting. So let's get that engine to where it doesn't leak, because it leaks a lot right now, and to where I can just drive it and enjoy it. So that's the main thing. And then if I have time, if you know, the next thing, if it happens this year, great. If it doesn't, and it happens the year after that, the next thing is a front end rebuild. I mean, all this stuff is pretty much original. So all these tie rods, look at those shocks, these CarQuest. I mean, they still ride actually okay, but you know, idler arm, pitman arm, tie rods, sway bar, end links, like just everything under here, ball joints. I think the CVs might be clicking. Something's going on when it turns sharply that is not nice sounding. I need to see if it's like the turn stops, like if it's this hitting here, or if it's clicking in the CVs. I need to investigate that. But basically, yeah, just kind of refresh everything with Sankei 555, brand new parts. And then again, like, it'll be good to go for longer trips, because right now it is pretty squarely on the road at high speeds. Yep, so that's it, you guys. That's the update on Axle. I got big things that I want to do. The question is just time. You know, I got a million Monteros that all need something. So getting to this one now that it's, you know, it's running, it's driving, it's serves its purpose for testing out and creating Gen 1 parts, but I do want to get it, all that stuff done to it. So stay tuned and I'll keep plugging away. But yeah, if you were wondering whatever happened to this thing, that's what happened. All right, you guys, appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next Montero video.